Hey, what's up, guys? Levi Heaton III. Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué onda? Mi nombre es Levi Heaton III. Ni hao. Wudamin dish Levi Heaton III. Assalamu alaikum. It's my Levi Heaton III. Namaste. Miran nam he. Levi Heaton III. Здравствуйте. Меня зовут Levi Heaton III. This video is about codependency. What codependency is and why it has developed in human psychology, how it affects us and how it affects our relationships, what can be done to overcome codependency. Codependency is it's actually a very controversial diagnosis among the mental health community. I used to be codependent. I've also been diagnosed with ADHD, PTSD, anxiety, depression, insomnia, and sleep apnea. When I was diagnosed with these things, I believed the diagnosis. They give me medication, I took the medication. I believe that part of our society, the mental health part of our society, part of our medical science, is all based in a victim's mentality. We're insecure cowards. And you've heard me speak in other videos about insecurity and cowardice and hate. A victim's mentality tells these insecure, hateful cowards that their behavior is okay, rather than teaching them about their condition and how to overcome it, how to defeat it, how to improve themselves. Rather than educating them, they tell them it's okay, it's not their fault, and they give them medication. I'm going to tell you something. There is absolutely nothing that happens in the laws of physics that isn't caused by something else. Everything in the universe happens because something caused it to happen. When you oppress someone, the cause is someone made a choice to beat you, murder you, steal from you. Oppression, the cause of oppression, is a choice made by an insecure coward to oppress, to bully someone to make themselves feel better. In that case, there is a victim. There is a defined victim. In other cases, such as what we're speaking of, mental health, there are very rare cases when someone is actually suffering from something that comes from a neurological deficiency. If it's neurological, the cause is your brain didn't develop correctly. In the case of codependency, depression, anxiety, narcissism, these are learned behaviors, okay? And they're given medication to people, convincing people that they can't fix it. These people don't know how to fix it, same as me. I didn't know how to fix it because I believed all the bull crap that they keep putting out to us. I thought I couldn't fix it. I thought it wasn't my fault. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm telling you, they don't know what they're talking about. Do you know there's a book that just came out called Consciousness by Annika Harris? She gives insight to new discoveries of the scientific community that the scientific community is not able to release to the public because it'll ruin their careers, because these scientists work for universities and government funds the universities, so they can't release the information. Well, Annika's an editor. She's not a scientist. She works for the scientists. She edits books for the scientists. She wrote her own book releasing all this stuff. Do you know they have discovered that trees are conscious? Trees make decisions, not primitive reactive decisions. Trees think. Annika Harris, Consciousness is the name of the book. You can read it. But the scientific community cannot release that information because imagine what would happen. Look at all the problems it causes because, cows think and we have to eat. And look at the movements. I mean, I love meat. I love eating cows. It's the only natural occurring source of creatine. I love meat. I do. I hate killing. I have no intention of becoming a vegetarian, but my son said something to me the other day that really made me think. He said, we were never intended to reproduce to this scale. We were never intended to kill on this scale. Almost every animal on Earth other than human beings is going extinct. The only animals that aren't going extinct are the animals we have domesticated for pets or for food. Every other animal's going extinct. The animals in the ocean are going extinct. The animals in Africa are going extinct. Do you understand? Trees are going extinct for, just using that word to serve my purpose of this conversation. We're chopping them down like it's crazy. And we don't even need trees. You don't have to. We eat animals. We don't eat trees. We're just chopping down trees to build stuff. If the general public was educated to accept that trees have consciousness, we'd have to stop cutting down trees because we don't need trees. It would ruin industrialization. And I really can't say that would be a bad thing. I really think I'm not going to get into that. I lost track of what the hell this video is. So I got on a rant. I actually forgot what this video was about while I was ranting about that. So these non-neurological mental health problems are challenges to overcome. They're not something you have to accept. Les Brown was diagnosed as ineducable, whatever the hell that means. I guess in the 50s or 60s that meant mentally retarded. Mentally retarded to the point you cannot fix it. Now Les Brown's a millionaire, and in the 90s he was the most popular, most well-known motivational speaker in the world. They told him he was mentally retarded. They told his mother he was mentally retarded and that he could never possibly be normal. He was just on Tom Bilyeu Impact Theory the other day, did a complete interview in his 70s, battling cancer, completely mindful, okay? This is how much they understand mental health. They understand mental health so little that they just realize trees have consciousness, and they won't release that to the general public because of the political and social problems that would cause. Imagine if they started teaching people, educating people, that they can defeat codependency, narcissism, depression, anxiety. These things you can learn to overcome these things. You don't have to drug yourself. Codependency is one of those things. Codependency is what used to be a relationship, a marriage. Codependency, what I came out of my parents' house, I never heard of codependency, but that's what a relationship was. Like, you were married, you were in a relationship, you spent all your time with that person. This is especially religious marriage is based in codependency. You don't have to be abused to develop codependency. You just have to be uneducated about codependency. And the thing is, if industrialization falls, relationships will become codependent by necessity again. Now, in industrialized societies, codependent relationships do not work because people want to do their own thing. People don't want to be so close anymore, okay? People don't want to sacrifice their own wants and thoughts and desires for the relationship. They want to have their own wants and thoughts and desires within the relationship. So if you both are willing to have a codependent relationship, then there's nothing wrong with that. That's what most marriages have been up until probably definitely the 60s, definitely up until the 1960s. And I'd say after that with feminism, but it's more about industrialization, not feminism. I think that's about when it started to change, and it's still changing. There's still a lot of people, especially Christians, a marriage is codependency. When you get married, you're supposed to sacrifice yourself for the other person, for the relationship. You're supposed to constantly give up yourself for the relationship. That's codependency. When you're constantly giving up yourself, you're losing your identity for the relationship. Your identity becomes the relationship. So then when that person is not around, you're not whole. Codependency is when you have to have another person in order to feel whole. This isn't healthy anymore in the modern society because people travel, people go to work, people get divorced like it's nothing now. And so if you're in a codependent relationship and then that person has to go away on a trip or dies or you get divorced, you're lost. You don't know who you are anymore because you defined yourself by that relationship. This is why codependency doesn't work. When you're codependent, you constantly need the other person to make you feel whole. You constantly need the other person that may help you feel better, make you happy. You're never satisfied unless that other person is around. And then what happens is you're never satisfied even when they are around because you're a partial person. You've given up so much of yourself that you don't know who you are anymore. So when you're not happy, you expect this other person to fix it for you, to make you happy, but they can't. Nobody else can make you happy. In the old days, that was just what marriage was. You just had horrible relationships. Everybody had a horrible marriage, and you just stuck with it till death do us part. Now we don't do that anymore. Now we want to be healthy, but not all of us. Some people still do that stuff, but this is where we're moving. This is where we're evolving towards. Now we want to be healthy. The best way to overcome codependency, when you're growing up in your home, you're codependent. You're born codependent. You have to depend on your parent. And then usually, especially if you have overbearing, very strict parents, when you grow up, when you move out, you just all of a sudden, you've been codependent. You have someone else taking care of you. You had to depend on that person. You had to give up yourself. You couldn't make your own decisions. You couldn't make your own rules. You had to follow their rules. rules, and then all of a sudden you don't have those anymore. So you just lost half of yourself. If you stay living at your house and your parents, I don't know how that works out for you. You know, some parents slack off after you turn 18, some parents don't. If you're in their house, you got to follow their rules. The best thing you can do is get out of your parents' house and live on your own. If you can afford it, not even with roommates. After 3, 4, 5 years, you will have the codependency out of you of living on your own. Don't date. I mean, I guess you can date. Don't get into a relationship. Find yourself, develop yourself, discover who you are, who you want to be, to discover your goals, set your boundaries, set the rules that govern your life, which is your boundaries, that are going to help you to achieve your goals that you determine, and then do not allow anyone in your life who does not fit within those boundaries or who causes you to go outside of your boundaries. Once you have gotten to that point, then you're ready to start trying relationships, because you're solid in yourself, and if you start having codependent tendencies, you're going to recognize it, and you're going to say, okay, I need to take some time off from this relationship, I need to back up, I need to go think, whatever. Stop being codependent, stop being so demanding, stop expecting that person to cater to my every whim, stop expecting that person to make me feel better, stop blaming them for how I feel, stop giving up myself for the relationship. Relationships cannot be two people giving up themselves for the relationship. It can't exist. It can't exist anymore. Maybe when people were dying at 30, getting married at 13 and dying at 30, that might have worked. People are living to be 90 now. It doesn't work. You give up yourself, you forget who you are, you're totally lost, and you're alone when you're not alone. Relationships now have to be two complete people sharing a goal, teammates, working their way through life, supporting each other to achieve their individual goals. Relationships used to be two people becoming one and working towards the future. It can't be that anymore. It has to be two separate individual people helping each other, supporting each other, and working towards their goals. Codependency is not good for anybody. You see a very high profile example of codependency is the way as Amber Heard in those Johnny Depp tapes. That was textbook codependency, and her codependency was manifesting her into becoming an abusive bully. She's codependent, insecure, afraid, coward, causing her to be a bully, an abusive bully. Johnny Depp was, at least in those tapes, calm, collected, self-confident, and because he was trying to put the relationship first, he ended up becoming a victim, or at least from those tapes. So it takes a few years after you get out of your parents' house, or if you're freaking 37 years old like I was when you realize this. Actually, I was 35 when my second wife walked out of me. I've been single since then. I've been single 5 years, and it took me about 3 to start realizing all these things. I got off all that freaking medication they had me on. I've realized like the depression and the anxiety were caused because I wasn't, well, first it was caused by the codependency. The codependency was me trying to just give myself up for whoever I was in a relationship with. Then once I'd found myself, found my goals, and started to learn what boundaries are, I realized the anxiety and depression were from not having a clue what my goals were or who I was. Not being me. I was just being whoever the person I was in a relationship with said I should be. Once I set my own goals, set my own boundaries, and got on my own path, anxiety and depression went away. I still have the sleeping problems, and I don't know I think they diagnosed me with ADHD, but I think that's just caused from the sleeping problems. Sometimes I can't think as fast because I don't sleep. I have insomnia, which means I have a hard time falling asleep, and I have sleep apnea. I stop breathing 30 times an hour. 30 times an hour I stop breathing and wake up. Micro wake up, like I don't fully wake up, but it brings me out of sleep 30 times an hour. So I don't fall asleep, and then when I am asleep, I wake up 30 times an hour. So yeah, of course that's gonna give me some cognitive issues. Set your goals, be alone, discover yourself, discover your goals, and your goal can't be to be married. Your goal can't be to have a relationship. That's what my goals were. That's what my goal was, to be married, to be a husband, and to be a father. But you have to find yourself first. I got married my first time when I was 20. Came straight out of high school looking for a wife. And I had no idea who I was because I had been under my parents' rule for my whole life. I went and got married and didn't know who I was. And then looking back, I did know who I was, but it was subconscious. I wasn't conscious of it. I was an actor, a writer, I was a creator, I was an artist. I wasn't conscious of that. It was subconscious. I married a practical. None of that stuff was valid to her. Actor, writer, artist, none of that was valid. I needed to get a job. at a factory, at Walmart, McDonald's, didn't matter where. Well, actually, it did matter where. I was only allowed to work in construction because she was so insecure. I wasn't allowed to work around other women. And I lost myself. 10 years of marriage, I completely lost myself. And then I came out of that, still had no clue about codependency or goals or boundaries. Found another woman who was in line with who I had been convinced I was supposed to be and what I had been convinced life was supposed to be like. Still had no idea who I was or what I wanted from life. I was lost. Married her. That wasn't a successful marriage. And then after that marriage, I started doing self-discovery. And now here I am, sharing what I've learned with you. And I hope this is helpful for you. Throw a like on my video, please. Throw a comment down there. Let me know what you think about these videos. If you got any suggestions for videos, like and follow my page, subscribe to my channel, click that bell for notifications. If you're watching this on Facebook, make sure you go into your Facebook watch, click that you want to see all my videos. Make sure you go up to the top of my page and click on the follow button and make sure you click see all. Thanks a lot, everybody. I appreciate your support.